And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. Appreciate y'all for tapping in with us again on another thrilling edition of the Doing All Right. I'm Voch Lombardi here on the Iron Throne. Brian's on his side of the mothership, man. We just kicking it. Gonna break down some Bears offense for you today. If you haven't noticed, we've gotten into a groove here. Monday, we are mostly doing recaps, what we saw initially. Tuesday, we're gonna come in and show you what the hell we saw after deeper investigation. Wednesdays and Thursdays, we're going to be breaking down the opponent, offense, then defense. And on Fridays, we're going to reach out to you guys, do some mailbag, answer questions, because that's what makes this thing go around. So you get a bit of a schedule and a bit of a feel. Now, when we get into that Thanksgiving territory where Thursdays and Mondays start happening, hey, we'll figure it all out. But as of now, that is our television schedule. But man, bro, hold on. Before we get started, Brian.
Yeah.
Before I ask this question, because it might be some fights after this, let me take my glass off. You okay? Everything cool?
Yeah, everything's cool.
You good to go?
I feel like, meeting with you like pre-show, I feel better about my protection.
What you mean?
You and Zach are like bodyguards. Like I got a couple of bodyguards I'm working with. So yeah, I I feel safer doing my show here.
There's a great quote from Beanie Siegel. He was doing an interview. They said, "Hey, when you was out with Jay-Z, did you guys need any armed security?"
Yeah.
And Beanie said, "I'm the armed security.
I'm the armed security.
I am the armed security."
Yeah.
So that's how I feel, Bryan Broaddus. I'm gonna keep us very safe.
Yeah.
Unless we're in California and I don't have my tools with me.
Yeah, there you go.
But Zach is good to go. I'm good to go.
Yeah.
I
learned something today about you too.
And then
that we're good to go.
Yeah, we are good to go. And then if we travel, Mr. Wolf, we got somebody else with even more security.
There you go.
International security.
There you go.
Even better. But man, Bryan Broaddus, boy, I was thinking about something. We was on the break yesterday, given what we give to the party, and I asked the question. I was like, hey, break cast, if we have time to ask this question, we'll ask you one day, but what y'all think about this? But we didn't get into it.
Yeah.
So I figured we'll put the best content on Crown Global Media. Brian, I was thinking about the Cowboys' run defense.
Yes.
And you've had a really good 6 quarters of run defense. Yes. I'll even say, besides Jalen Hurts running around the circle, I would say 8 quarters of run defense. Just solid, the best you can ask for. Mm-hmm. Even you'll go into PFF and they'll give you a metric about design runs that takes away quarterback runs, right? Cowboys' run defense has been solid, Brian. Tyrone Tracy, Cam and them didn't do that much to you. Do you think if Micah Parsons was on this team? I know we missing a bunch of pass rush, and that's to be expected. Don't just get me clear here. You're missing a ton of pass rush by not having Micah Parsons on your team. But do you think that your run defense would be as good if Parsons was here and Kenny Clark was not?
I think Kenny Clark has brought a different element to this. I think the coach that's here now has brought a different element to it. I'll say this, though. I think Solomon Thomas has brought a different element to this. I think Osa Odigizua has brought a different element to it. Last week, Kenneth Murray brought a different element to it. So that, to me, is kind of where this is at right now. And are you having pass rush issues, but the benefit of it is your run defense is better. And the things that I kind of worried about were the things that were when it came to the secondary, because I had a lot of questions about the secondary.
Yeah.
And I was worried, I didn't know if you were going to get Diggs back and all that. And I was thinking, are teams just going to line up and just don't even worry about the run because you can't play pass defense?
Sure.
And that was even with Micah Parsons being on the team and the potential with the rush.
Yeah.
Boy, I feel like I've been really, really, really wrong about these edges, but the defensive tackles have shown up as a positive in the run game.
Now, Brian, I don't think that you would get Solomon and Osa as good if Kenny Clark wasn't here. Solomon's making all his plays from B gap and versus tight ends. I believe out of there's a number. I'm sure you got it on one of your papers. Yeah. It's like Solomon was in on 9 runs and he stopped 7 of them.
Sure.
Solomon was ridiculous last week, Brian. Right. I think that's because Solomon doesn't have to live inside A gap taking double teams.
No, you've said that all. I mean, you said that the minute that they got Kenny Clark here. The minute they got Kenny Clark, then all of a sudden responsibilities, then Solomon Thomas, it wasn't going to be about, and that was a big concern too going into camp when Voch and I were at practices, What's going to happen when Solomon Thomas has to play the one technique? What happens when Osa has to play the three, or vice versa there? And who is going to step in? And, oh, is Winfrey going to be this guy? Man, they might even be better. They might even be better at the defensive tackle spot when Winfrey gets back. Yeah. You know, from what we saw in training camp and stuff like that. But the fact that Clark, he has put everybody where they need to be position-wise, not having to play guys out of position.
Toia's not playing bad neither, Bryan Broaddus.
No, he's not. He's not. For his size, he is doing things, I think, that are really, really positive. When you look at, he doesn't get blown off the ball. He doesn't get turned. Yeah. He's going to hold ground. Is he going to give you a pass rush? No, not much. Sure. But he's able to kind of just hang in there and hold people up and get in the hang of that.
I think it's an interesting thing to talk about because, you know, Brian, we've seen what Micah looks like on his team. Like we knows what the run defense looks like when Micah's on the team. So now we're asking, okay, well, is it, you know, Fluce's scheme that's making the run defense better? Because, you know, the Cowboys, we can, you know, you'll have a good run day, but your pass day looks bad, or you shut down the Eagles receivers or say whatever. But, you know, I guess the question is it Fluce and his run scheme that's making your run D a little better, or like, boy, is it the Kenny Clark impact? And if it's all Kenny Clark, if it's to where like the run game gets good, Kenny Clark's getting sacks and pressure, Osa plays well, Solomon plays well, Toia gets to live at home, and your linebackers playing a little better. Yeah. I can live with Kenny Clark making those guys play better. Now maybe Micah makes the rest of your edges play better. Right. But I kind of do like this world where you can deal with the run and you just got to figure the pass out at some point.
All right, let me ask you this, though.
Hell yeah.
Going into this, when you make this trade.
Yes, sir.
When you make this trade, do you think, okay, we're giving up a big-time pass rusher. Yeah. But we're going to help our run defense. But we feel good enough about our edges. Is that the mistake that they've made through the first 2 weeks of the season?
That's the biggest mistake. They by making this, they put a lot of faith in Dante and Donovan.
They put a lot of faith. Yeah. They put a lot of faith in this group of edges. It's like, look, we got Kenny Clark. Yeah. He's going to play great for us. Yeah. And he has. He really, really has. But they probably felt like that, you know what, we could sacrifice Micah because we like what Fowler and Williams. That seems to be the mistake that they've made for the first 2 weeks of the season. That might be the front office mistake right there.
I think that's where they miss because the initial feeling was Dante Fowler, Donovan Ezraku, Sam Williams, in context of having Micah around, they sound really good. Yeah. When Micah's not here, okay, we have to see. Yeah. And that first test was them versus Ella Mignor and Hudson and Bow, and they didn't perform very well.
Not at all.
So that's a huge mistake. Yeah. Which is, I'm also befuddled that damn Clowney only got 1 year, $3 million with the possible that it could be 6. I thought that if Clowney going to be on the phone at halftime, and your pass rusher doing this, and Marcus Mbo is shutting down everything over there, man, I thought Clowney was going to get $15 million. I thought Clowney was going to go crazy on the money, but he signed for a reasonable amount. I can live with that. Shouts out to you, but I do think the Cowboys front office had urgency with signing Clowney. If I had to bet, you know, Jerry don't like to call people first. I bet Jerry called first and said, "Hey, man, it ain't looking good. We're not doing it." So Clowney, please.
No, they did this during the game.
Oh yeah, for sure.
They did this during the game. I was talking to some people about it, and they were saying that. I was like, hey, was this something pre-game? Did you have an idea what you were going to do pre-game here? And it was really like, no, we were working on this, you know. And maybe it wasn't as the game. I mean, it was as the game was going. But
I want the mess, Brian. I want Jerry Jones to be like, man, what the hell is Sam doing? Todd, can y'all get what's the name, Adam and them? Can we all get together and call Clowney's representation to get him in?
No, I mean, it's. I just, like I say, I'm really happy. I'm happy that they've kind of figured out the run defense because Kenny Clark is what he is as advertised. I know my guys in Green Bay were like, listen, you got a great guy, great teammate, great run defender. You know, you got all these things. That's been a super positive. But I just wonder if the Cowboys if they over-evaluated the edges. And I've yet, Voch, I'm going to admit this. I'm going to look right in that camera and say this. I misevaluated these edges at least through the first 2 weeks of the season. Because every time that I've talked about, well, hey, how about this guy? How about this guy? Need to play Marshawn Nealon more here. It just appears that every combination they've tried. The one time they got pass rush in that game and it was the difference in the game. Sam Williams getting home and getting in Russell Wilson's face won that football game for you because the pass was so poorly thrown, the interception, the turnover you got. But it nearly wasn't enough. And this week, as we get into the Bears, it's going to be the same thing. They are going to struggle at spots along this offensive line. Mm-hmm. And it just scares me a little bit that maybe Dallas doesn't have as good a pass rush as I wanted to believe.
Well, let's get into it then, Bryan Broaddus. You're talking about the Bears offensive line. I do feel like Tooney and Jackson play really well. Those are the guards.
Yeah.
Dowman is fine, but when he's playing amongst those guards, he's much better because those guards are good. If you can find a way to isolate Dowman, maybe you can get to him. But I think the guys that you're looking for is Darnell Wright will give it up, but Braxton Jones is really the one that's going to fall all over the place and let you hit the quarterback.
Yeah, Braxton Jones is a guy that when in last week, if you go back and you watch the Lions game, you go back and you watch him and the way that he played, it was rough. And he's a big, long, tall guy that kind of moves like last week we were talking about with Hudson and how he moves kind of in sections. You're kind of getting the same thing with Jones here. He's a guy that's not very quick-footed. He's long. It kind of takes him a little time to get going, and he'll struggle. He'll struggle with people. But can you attack that edge? I'll tell you another thing. And you mentioned about Jonah Jackson, the guard.
Yes, sir.
The thing that I saw with Jonah Jackson, this might give him some problems. In the Minnesota game and in the Detroit game, the swim move, the quickness move. Here's a guy that gets a little out over the top. Some of the things we talked about with Booker. What happens to Booker sometimes? He gets a little aggressive, tries to get his hands, and now you got a swim move, arm over move, and you got a guy around him with some quickness. He had some problems that way. Dowman was the same. Dowman, they ran some twist stunts with like double A-gap looks. We saw that a little bit in training camp. We saw it a bunch with Mike Zimmer, that mug linebacker look where they're both in the A-gaps. Lions did this where they ran a pick, down, and then around, and then were able to get a guy home because they knocked Dowman the center off. He doesn't like, to me, he's the most stout center, but but he's better than I think than what John Michael Schmitz. They did not take advantage of John Michael Schmitz last week, and that to me, and then those are the things that bother me. We sit here and we talk about this guy, but you don't do anything to affect them that way.
You want to know why, Bryan?
Why is that?
I was watching, and I think it's because Flus is so dedicated to the four-man rush. John Michael Schmitz always had help.
Yeah.
So if you're rushing 4 versus their 5, Smith gets to work with a guard on somebody.
Right.
At least what we wanted to see was at least get 5 rushers so that you can isolate Smith on one guy. And if it could have been put Solomon at this B gap, put Osa at this B gap, and just let Kenny Clark rush over his head or something and just see what that looks like. I don't think Flus got a chance to take advantage of John Michael because he just only rushed 4. But when we did get pressure, when we did walk guys up in those one-on-ones happened, everything collapsed for the Giants.
Right.
I hope Flus watch that on film and eventually takes advantage of it and come back here and hopefully we can look at Dowman like that.
Yeah, I think there's things that they can do against this Bears front.
Yes, sir.
That much like, but they need. I think it's when you start to talk about the metrics will tell you that this quarterback under pressure, it's a little bit different for him. Now, I will say this: 3 of his touchdowns have been against pressure, but his accuracy struggles when he has to face pressure. And we talk about pressure, we talk about blitzes. More than 5 guys, 5 or more guys rushing right there. This is what you got to do. Now, the problem you run into playing this guy is his ability to run.
He can run.
That's going to be the issue today.
Faster than Hurts, you would say.
Yeah, I mean, this is very much like Hurts. Hurts will run and get first down. This guy, I think he's had 9 scramble runs. Metrics will tell you 9 scramble runs. 6 of them have ended up as first downs. So the problem you run into if you're an undisciplined front, if all of a sudden it's Fowler running up the field and then spinning inside, and then he gets hooked by, luckily he gets hooked by Braxton Jones and gets knocked inside, and now the ball's to the outside. This quarterback will run. He will take off and go. He'll hold the football, and that's why they give up a lot of pressures. That ball doesn't come out very quickly with this guy. And the same thing was kind of with Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts will hold the ball too. But this guy will hurt you with his legs, and he will also throw off platform quite a bit. Just be ready for him throwing outside the pocket, and be ready for him also running with the football to try and convert some third downs.
One thing I saw Detroit and Minnesota do a lot to kind of get pressure on them, Brian, is they would bring an extra guy and they would make Swift, the running back,
have to block,
and he's not great at it.
No, he's not at all.
So and we're gonna break down some film and show the people here.
Absolutely,
we kind of talked about those things. If you want to use Donovan Wilson as a blitzer or just any one of those linebackers, make DeAndre Swift become a part of the pass rush party. And I think that he's another guy that you can beat up on and take advantage of.
No, I think you're absolutely right there. Anytime that you can get a back involved in blocking, and if the back is not comfortable doing that, and Swift is kind of what we say like a half-man block. He'll throw his shoulder in there. He really doesn't use his hands all that well. He tries to just kind of stop the momentum and then let the quarterback react from that. He doesn't bend his knees, put his hands inside, and try and hold on. So, anything you could do to get him involved as a blocker, I think will be a good way. And you mentioned Donovan Wilson. Donovan Wilson had 5 sacks last year.
Yeah.
Donovan Wilson does not need to play. Hey, congratulations, your first turnover and interception, Donovan Wilson. Great.
That's his first one ever?
Well, no, the first one this year.
This year, okay.
Yeah, this year. But that's what I'm saying. But Donovan Wilson is in a situation where you need to figure out about playing him down. You need to figure out how to bring him. Last week, you sat there and you tried some slot blitzes and things like that Stewart just didn't get home a couple of times. Use Donovan Wilson in those situations. Bring him down. Maybe this team that runs a lot of 12 personnel. You're going to get a lot of Komet on the field. You're going to get their Loveland, their rookie tight end. You're going to get a lot of 12 personnel stuff. Maybe you could find a way to put him down in that box, act like it's going to be a cover situation, and then find a way to get him home.
Now, in the event that you don't sack Caleb Williams.
Yeah, it's going to be a problem.
And look, it'll be a great day if you did. Yeah, one less thing to worry about.
Yeah.
In the event that you don't get to him and he has time to throw the ball, he has some options throwing the ball, Bryan Broaddus.
He does.
Would you say, I would imagine DJ Moore has the bigger name of the wide receivers, but Rome Odunze has been the guy that Caleb goes to more, you would say?
He has been, yes.
Yeah. And Rome Odunze has the ability to be deep ball guy. I see him try him deep sometimes, but Rome Odunze can also run routes and win underneath. And sometimes they'll get him at the sideline, they'll get him in the back of these end zones or whatever, Brian. I do think Rome is the more dangerous of the two. I just don't think that Caleb Williams and DJ Moore have figured it out all the way.
No, they have not.
But he has really good chemistry with Odunze, Brian.
He does, and especially when you look at, and the Cowboys have got to watch this, checking some numbers on this stuff. They've thrown the ball. The Bears have thrown the ball down the field more under Coach Johnson here than they have in previous regimes. So this is where Caleb Williams, Odunze they're 2 for 4 on deep balls for 58 yards. So this might be, you watch all of a sudden. You watch the Giants film and well, damn, if they're not gonna cover, if they're gonna sit in too deep and single high stuff and just and not collision our receivers and stuff, well, hell, let's take a crack at these things. Yeah. So I would absolutely believe that the ball's going to go down the field. The thing that's interesting about Moore is they're playing him out of the slot.
Yeah.
But his targets and his receptions are down from what we've seen previously. Go back to Carolina and what a great weapon he was playing out of the slot. But under Caleb Williams, they've had some problems, and you mentioned it with the connections. But his targets and receptions for him is way down as compared to where they've been in the past. Rome Odunze has been the guy that has been that player for Caleb Williams when it comes to throwing him the football and trying to make those plays.
And it's interesting because, Justin Fields was able to find DJ Moore just fine.
Just fine.
But, Caleb Williams, I would think that he processes a little better than Justin Fields. But, hey, maybe that's to be determined, though. I'll tell you what, Brian, if my last name was Roseman Jones and I was in charge of the Cowboys, I'm going to go call him by DJ Moore and just bring him over here to the Cowboys because that's what the Eagles would do. I'm a big fan of him. But if he can't get it figured out over here,
oh, no.
Moore can play. They just haven't figured it out yet.
No, they have not figured it out yet. And this is, but let me say this though too, Voch, when you're watching these guys play, with the thing with Ben Johnson, and we kind of saw it last year a little bit when Detroit and Dallas and came into when they played last year though. Mm-hmm. This is a situation where a lot of these routes go down the field, and a lot of them are paired with each other. You have receivers running, and you have a lot of combinations. But, man, they really run deep routes. And I'm not just taking vertical routes. I mean, it takes them time to get their routes down the field. So they're going to, if they have some opening, and you got to cover. I mean, if you're the Cowboys secondary, number one, quarterback out of pocket, quarterback can run, quarterback can throw on the move. But you better carry routes. It better not be pass off and hope for the best. Because this quarterback, he's done a pretty decent job. And when the routes have been down the field and open, he's found a way to hit those types of routes. He's also missed on some. His numbers could be even bigger. Yeah. But their offense runs routes down the field, combination routes and stuff. Yeah. So what happens with the Cowboys is if you have to stand your guys or you have zone, you have to be aware of where you're at on that field. Because there's going to be crossing routes. There's going to be shallow crossing routes. There's going to be deep crossing routes. There's going to be combination routes that are going to lead into others, with a tight end running with a wide receiver, and there's some kind of combination there. I mean, discipline, keep playing with your eyes, all these things that Dallas struggled with last week against the Giants, that has to change. Because this quarterback, young guy, he does have the ability to get these guys. And if you look at the metrics when it comes to open guys, he will find those guys. He's done a much better job this year than last year when it came to throwing to open receivers.
Now, Brian, something I thought was interesting. I thought the combination of young guy and Ben Johnson and what he does, right? Or young guy at quarterback.
Right.
And Ben Johnson and what he likes to do. I thought that the two tight ends would be going more.
Right.
I thought that Cole Kmet and Colston Loveland, the top 10 overall pick, Brian, 9th overall, I believe.
Sure.
That was a shocker for us, but I thought that those two would be getting going more. Apparently, Olamide Zaccheaus is the next guy up, So when it's not Rome Odunze, it's him, Olamide Zaccheaus. That's a mouthful. And the tight ends really haven't gotten going, Brian. Now, just me and my Cowboy superstition, right? Mm-hmm. Boy, this will be the one day that these Bears tight ends just go crazy on us. Just my own Cowboys, that's just how they do us. The teams back up tight ends and their first tight ends just come get us. But I really thought that Caleb Williams would be using these guys a lot more.
Right.
But he hasn't been. But he has been using Olamide Zaccheaus. So talk to us about him and where he.
Yeah, he's out of the slot is what you get him. That's where he is going to play. He was with the Falcons, and now he's with the Bears, of course. But we talked about the 12 personnel stuff. Maybe this is a game. Boy, this is the game you would love to have Jordan Lewis.
For sure.
Because Jordan Lewis can match up with tight ends, and we'll see. We'll see how Stewart's a little bit smaller guy. So 12 personnel stuff, do you get him involved or do you say, you know what, we're going to get Wilson involved here? I think Wilson playing down on a tight end, trying to keep things in front, trying to run with guys, I think that's so much better for him.
Yeah.
So to me, that's kind of the matchup you have got to figure out. I think trying to take Rome out of the game. And then the next thing you got to think about is, okay, well, what about Moore? Well, Moore really hasn't hurt you. And to your point, the tight ends really haven't hurt you. But Cole Kmet and those guys can hurt you if you leave them uncovered. The Lions are really fortunate to have a guy like Brian Branch. I guarantee you Voch is going to show you some things from Brian Branch, when we do film breakdown tomorrow. You're going to see Brian Branch probably make some plays for the Lions. You'd love to have a guy that could be able to match up with tight ends like that because these guys do play a lot of 12 personnel stuff, but you just can't leave them uncovered. You just can't say, oh, well, they're tight ends. They're not. These guys do play down the field.
Yeah.
So just make sure, though, that you try and take that away from Caleb Williams right there, because and how you do it is going to be key. I kind of feel like I'd like to put Wilson down on these guys. Let him be physical. Let him be around the line. Let him run with the guy. Let him trying to deny the football there.
You would imagine that the Bears are going to try to win the football. They're going to try to win the game throwing the ball, right, Brian? They're not going to try to run too much, because when I did see them use Swift, he didn't really blow me away with like their run game stuff.
Well, the problem that the Bears have, and here it goes back. You watch the tape. Swift's in a situation where actually he has not had to deal with contact a lot. I mean, he is not. I mean, we talk about contact behind the line of scrimmage, at the line of scrimmage. I think he's in the top 5 when it comes to, having to deal with contact after he gets the ball. So he's getting opportunities to run the football, not getting hit at the line of scrimmage or behind the line of scrimmage. He's having, but his success rate, 4+ yards per carry, is one of the lowest in the league. For somebody that doesn't deal with contact, he's one of these backs that doesn't take advantage of the no contact.
Why is that, Brian? It trips over his own feet.
It's just, to watch him play, he just hasn't had those explosive plays, the breakaway runs and stuff like that. So it's amazing to me when you watch. I was like, gosh dang, he has, they're not getting, it's not collisions. He's not having to deal with stuff at the line of scrimmage or behind the line of scrimmage. He just can't finish the runs like he needs to finish them.
I think he has like right around 100 yards for these last 2 games or something like that, Brian. And I thought Swift was getting busy last year, but I guess not. But as far as this offensive line group as a run blocking unit, they seem cool. They can move guys on the inside, and the tackles are fine in the run game.
Right.
I still think you got to do what you've done in the last 2 games. The Cowboys, come up, fill your gaps, and just tackle. Clark is going to help you a lot there. Oates is going to help you a bunch there. I don't think the Cowboys are going to have to worry too much about Swift running around on them too much. I think this is going to be a Williams. Williams might run around a little bit, so we got to see what Flus has there. Yeah. But I think Williams is going to run around, and it's going to depend on him connecting with wide receivers, Brian, and if you could deal with that, I think you can win this game.
Yeah, I think what the Cowboys need to think about, though, is it much like where you were with the Giants, and not start slow like you did. Now, the one thing about the Bears, they start very quickly. Yeah. Last 2 games, they've open drive touchdowns.
That's interesting, Brian.
They've run. I think they've run almost 20 plays, average almost 8 yards a play. Their first 15 have been outstanding,
incredible.
So all of a sudden now, teams are like, whoa, we're down 7-0 before now we got the ball, and after the first 15, the Bears kind of struggle that way. Yeah. But this game is going to come down to your ability offensively, and we'll get into that tomorrow, your ability to attack this Bears defense and then try and make them try and score, try and put points. That's what the Lions did. The Lions just put a lot of pressure on the Bears to have to stay with them, and the Bears couldn't stay with them. So now it's about how do you find ways. That'll take the running game away. Then how do you deal with Caleb Williams running the football? That's the next thing, is like, okay, rush him, lane integrity, get him down, tackle him, make sure that he doesn't beat you that way. Because he's good at taking negative plays and making them into positive plays. So this game's got a kind of an element to me that might be pretty close. Yeah. This might be one of those kind of where all of a sudden they score, you score, they score. It's got a little bit of vibe, because the Bears do some things that the Cowboys are pretty poor at, and that's rushing the passer, and that's also containing the containing the quarterback. Nobody in the league has given up more yards to a running quarterback than your Dallas Cowboys for the first 2 weeks. That right now could be a big issue in this one.
One last thing, Mr. Broaddus, I want you to look in that camera right there. Camera number, what that is? 3.
Yep.
Yeah, yours. And I just want you to tell the good people about your desperate team theory, because I think it applies here. These guys don't want to go down 0-3. So look at that camera and tell people what's your desperate team theory.
This is the time of year where all of a sudden you're and I've lived this before, because I've sat in those chairs where you start off, 0-2, and you're just thinking like the world is falling down on you. And so you start to realize, like, listen, we will do anything possible just to get a win here. And I'm a big believer in the NFL, the desperate team theory. I think Dallas has to play this game, be desperate too. You can't go down 1-2 with Green Bay coming into town next week. You've got to play with just as much desperation, but I think the Bears have more desperation. I think, when you're talking about a new coaching staff, when you're talking about a city, this coach was like the golden child of the coaches. Everybody wanted Ben Johnson, and he made the determination to go to the Bears. And so, how is he going to help the quarterback? Oh, this offense, it's going to be better. It's the Lions. It's all this stuff like that. But that's a football team right now that in that city, they go down 0-3. That is going to be like the world is falling in on them. The Bears are going to give you their absolute best game. There's a side of me that's kind of leaning into, like, Caleb Williams running the football. Is Dallas going to do enough on offense? I think this is going to be a shootout game. I just feel like, maybe it'll come down to, much like we had with the Giants, it's going to come down to maybe a last possession or two. I don't think this is going to be a blowout one way or another, but the desperate team, it gets that team through. They play, they do things, they think about things in a different way. They just will do everything in their power not to be 0-3. And I think this is going to be a really, really tough one. I'm kind of not really sure in which way I'm going to go on this, because I think Dallas can move the ball. I don't know if Dallas, out on defense, how they're going to stop the Bears. The Bears might stop themselves, but man, there's just so many things that lead me to believe that this is going to be a shootout game, and it's going to be tough because, just like you asked me, the Bears just can't be 0-3.
If it's going to be a shootout, Bryan Broaddus, then we're going to come in here tomorrow and talk about how the Cowboys offense can put points upon the Bears defense.
Yeah, they're going to need
and we need y'all to tune in when we do that. Appreciate y'all, for this another thrilling edition of the Doing All Right. This is my favorite show of the day. Bryan Broaddus in here at Crown Globe, and we appreciate y'all for making it so fantastic. Go in the comments. We're going to read them, and we're going to respond to them. Sometimes it's Zach, sometimes it's Brian, but I do be reading them, and I come in here and say something about them, so we are reading them. Be sure to do all the algorithm things. Hit the sub, hit the like. That means the world to us, and follow the Crown Global media social media pages, Crown Global Media social media pages, Twitter and whatnot. That's Bryan Broaddus on VOCHLOMBARDI. We'll catch y'all next time. Crown.